Hello and welcome to day 4 of the 5-day Harp Improv Challenge. Today is all about noodling and enhanced noodling. It's all about turning our progression into a melodic improv. So on day 1, just to recap, we learned to keep our eyes on the bottom note of a progression and then build it up so that we could have this don't get caught anymore. Don't get caught. So that we can have that nice rich progression as a warm-up. In day 2, we learned the 3 musical roles, bass, accompaniment, and melody, and how we can use that same progression, don't get caught anywhere, don't get caught, to differentiate what we're playing into 2 roles, bass and accompaniment. So we took the same don't get caught anymore, don't get caught. We put it in our thumb here, we put an octave down below it, we built thirds up above it, a third, and then another third, and then another third, and then another third. So we have a bass and we have accompaniment, and we played our progression that way. And then we could sing, and if we did that, we had bass and accompaniment and melody. So that was day 2. In day 3, we learned that the melody and the bass lines are both lines, and together they create an outline. And that to create accompaniment, you can build down from the top, down, build notes below that melody note, or you can build up from the bottom, build notes up from the bass note. And we learned 2 ways to do that. One of them was to just build a 6th below that top note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a cookie cutter shape, so that when you were playing, you had that 6th below there, and that creates harmony, it creates a sense of accompaniment. We also learned to create the progression with a 1, 5, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, with a chord shape that we call a 1, 5, 10. It doesn't start on the, it's just trust me, it's a chord shape 1, 5, 10. It's different from the other numbers. I'll tell you about that in a separate video. So anyway, we created that shape, and we could go do our progression with that same shape. Don't get caught. And I don't know if I said this, but you can also make a smaller version of that. You can just play the 1 and the 5. You can just do like this. That's also really beautiful. Or you can do 1, 5, 8. That's 1, 5, 9, 1, 5, 8. Whatever works for your hand. So that was day 3. So everything we've done has been triggered off that same progression. Don't get caught anymore. Don't get caught. And that's the only thing that you have had to memorize. Everything else are just ideas that you can apply to that, okay? And that's what I like. I don't like to have to memorize a lot of stuff. So today we're going to take that same progression and we're going to turn it into a melodic line. You can also add a left hand bass and accompaniment to that as well, but we're just going to focus on the melody. So a lot of times people will tell you to go ahead, just noodle. And what they often mean is just make up a random melody on top of some chords. And some of people can do that easily. In fact, I've heard some of the people, are already on this challenge. I've heard people noodling beautifully, but not everybody can do that. And not everybody can do that all the time. So today we're going to learn what I call Fencepost Noodling, followed by enhanced Fencepost Noodling. So the rules of noodling. The rules of noodling are, there are no rules. But with guidelines, without guidelines, we can often feel lost. So, as Anne Horton said so beautifully in today's question and answer session, she said, the sky is the limit, but to really fly, you first need to be grounded in yourself. So we're going to use our progression to ground us. And then we are going to connect these notes in different ways. And so there's a lot of different ways to improvise melodically. I don't know why that keeps going over there. There's a lot of different ways to melodically improvise, but this is one way. The fence post, well, I'll tell you about the fence post in a second, but fence post noodling is a way that people in the Academy really like, especially when we're learning to read from lead sheets, because it really grounds you. So let's just look at that melody as a melody, and let's play it. And to look at it as a melody, we're going to take it up here. We might take it all the way up here, and we're going to play it in a singing, ringing way, like a melody. So it's a kind of an interesting melody. It's a melody that has a bunch of leaps kind of up and down. But what if we start connecting? What if we start connecting these notes? And that's why I call them fence posts. So I don't know if you've ever seen a fence, but a fence has these posts and then it has rails. And so these are going to be the fence posts. The notes are going to be the fence posts, and then we will connect them. We'll have different kinds of rails. So one of the easiest ways that you can connect notes is just with a scale. So let's try that. I'm going to bring it down here for now. So everybody, you can try this with me. We are going to create, starting on don't get caught anymore. Don't get caught. That makes a nice little melody. La 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 dee la 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 dum da dum la la dum da 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 dum. That was just by connecting with scales. And you don't always have to have the scales go in the same direction. You could start off in the other direction. You can play around with scales going back and forth, but I think it's great to just get something really solid that you're comfortable with. So that's one way that you can use fence posts to create a melody. Another way is to approach each note with an idea. So let's take the idea of flirting with a note. So we don't just go directly to it, but we're going to, like if we go from the D, we're going to go to the G, but we'll play the note below it and the note above it before we play the G. And then let's do that when we go to the C and to the A, and then back to the D. Don't get caught. It's starting to sound like an interesting melody. So that was below and above. We could also flirt in the other direction. We could go the note above and below. So that would sound like this. I'll just say it. Don't get caught anymore. Don't get caught. So you're already sort of embellishing. And of course you can combine the scales and these embellishments. And you could get really complicated. It could be, let's see, like it. You could just do all kinds of things, all kinds of different ways that you are connecting them. And what eventually happens when you're doing this is that your brain just starts saying, this is just too complicated. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to play whatever I want. And that's great, because that's what you want your brain to do, is to just say, I have an idea. I'm just going to do this. And that's great. And then at a certain point, you will either sometimes get, some people can just do that forever. And then some of us, we're like, we get self-conscious, or we get bored, or we start doing the same thing over and over again. And then we can go back to those fence posts and start playing around with them again. And you can do this with entire songs. You can just play the fence post of an entire song, and that's how we start melodically improvising in Lead Sheet Bootcamp. This is not to restrict you; it's to ground you. And then when you don't need that grounding, you go off, you be freer, and then when you need the grounding again, you come back to it. And you don't have to work. You don't even have to work with only the fence posts. If this is too easy for you and you want it to be more complicated, then instead of playing with the fence posts, D, G, C, A, you can play with the note a third above the fence post. So anytime you're playing don't, let's add it here. I'm going to add a bass line. So instead of playing the D, you play the F, then the B when you're playing the G, and then you'll play E when you're playing the C chord, and then C when you're playing the A chord. I'm just saying you can make it as complicated as you want. You can add the left hand underneath it if you can, and if you can't, don't worry about it. This is all about playing with the fence posts, playing with the melody. So if all you can do is just play with your right hand, that's great, that's beautiful. You're gonna have a lot of fun with that. If you can add a sixth underneath it, that would be interesting. That would be nice. If you can add the 1, 5, 10. This was a more complicated thing I just did. But if you can add that, great. If you can't, add 1, 5, 1, 5, 8. Or you can just add 1, 5. Or you can add 1, 3. I mean, it doesn't matter. The whole idea of giving you these principles is that now you know, oh, I can build up from the bottom. Well, I can build up with a 1, 5, 10. I can build up with just a third above it. I can build up with a fifth above it. So long as it sounds nice and it helps your brain, that's what you want to be doing. So, have fun, play around with Fencepost Noodling, and see what you discover about it and what you discover about yourself. After you play around with it, go to the Facebook page and look for the thread for day 4 and post your comment on the day 4 thread. Don't start another thread. Just keep everything as a comment on that one thread. And if you want to really challenge yourself, then take a video of yourself playing around with this and add that to your post. Just keep that short. Keep it to like 15 to 30 seconds. So go forth now and improvise. And I will see you tomorrow for the final day, day 5.